Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is July 17th, 2022. Let's see. It's Sunday. And so far, it's been a kind of fun day. Let's see. Let's do some food corner. I did a company cookout, and that was fun. That was a good time. I feel like I've really perfected the get in, get out strategy now. Usually what I like to do is get there at the opening. Maybe there's like a little bit of a wait, at least when I first went to these. And I think this is my 7th one or 6th one, something like that. No, 6 because I missed one because I got sick. But I usually go hang out, get some food. And also, there's free beer for this, so it's like Miller Lite, Bud Light. It used to be like they had Warsteiner or something like that, which is really nice, little German beer, I think. So that was a good time. That was fun. But anyway, now, new me, since there's like less of my older work friends who work there, and the time between has kind of gotten longer between getting there and the food. So it's like I don't want to wait more than 2 hours tops. I'd rather not wait at all. I want the food to be ready when I'm there. So I decided to go later this time. So essentially got there at like 3:30. Food was already there. There was a long line, but it moved really quick. Got my burger, got my hot dog, which was a brat. So I got my bratwurst, whatever. Let's see. And then I got some sides. Sides were potato salad, macaroni salad, coleslaw. All of them pretty good. I enjoyed them all. Let's see. Also, they had like some nice little condiments. I always like a good sauerkraut, so that was nice. Some relish, the usual suspect. Tomatoes, onions, all that kind of stuff. So it was a good time. Also, it was like unlimited beer, so that was cool. Like I said, I was pretty in and out about it though, which I liked. I was very efficient, very tactical. Didn't do any frills. And I got to see some homies and, hang out. It was a good time. Let's see. Also, I went to Cracker Barrel. That was another thing that has gone on in between episodes. I always go to Cracker Barrel and get the same thing. It's not the best thing on the menu, but it's the thing that I like from Cracker Barrel the most, which is the pancakes. I get like the Big Mama's breakfast or some whatever version of that they have. I think it's always been that, but I forget. There's like 3 pretty decent sized, I would say big. Well, no, not big. First Watch is big. These are decent sized. So, they're like griddle cakes. I feel like I want to call them that. They're a little crispier on the outside. So I got those, a couple pieces of bacon, and some scrambled eggs. Still not an egg guy, but it was all good. It was fine. So that's all the food. Did the food now. Let me move on to TV review corner. Because I got some things to talk about because I finally used some of my time to watch and finish Umbrella Academy Season 3. Now, I'm not planning on getting into any big spoilers. I am going to talk a little bit about characters, so, whatever, you can always just, fast forward a few minutes. I'll be on the news soon. But I did not like this season, and I feel like I'm an Umbrella Academy fan. I like the original source material. I haven't, devoted or read it a ton, but, I do the thing that a casual pleb will do, which is okay, how does this line up? How are these characters? Yada, yada, yada. So I really liked the first 2 seasons, despite any and all variations that they did. I liked the growth of the characters. It was a really good time. Enjoyed it. This season, though, it was chaotic and just not as fun. And I really hated Allison. So if you're a fan of the show, I initially had saw some spoiler type memes where they were really ragging on Allison, and I'm like, man, this is really hardcore. Allison's not that bad. Allison's okay. Geez, this is unnecessary. But then I got into the season deeper and deeper, and I was just so disappointed on how they did her. And of course, I wanted to check the comic book to see how that did it, and it was kind of similar, to show that she just does some crazy stuff this season that you may or may not like, and it's okay, awesome. So where do we go from here? So that's kind of where I was left at. I really want to say That's probably the worst thing I've watched all year. Like TV movie wise, just the worst thing I've watched to completion. Granted, You season 3 was worse, but I didn't finish that, so I really can't give a full review. Even though I recently had a friend just say, I was like, hey, can you just explain to me what happened? Because I may or may not watch season 4 just to see Joe. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, so let's get into some news. A little bit of I guess it's kind of all over the place, but just some I guess you can. I don't want to say leftovers because this is just the second episode, but I was kind of all over the place, kind of finding some stuff. But we can talk about it. Let's see. Let's start off in the States from the State, I should say. That's the article site. Alex Murdaugh to face charges in June 2021, shooting deaths of wife and son. Now, I haven't really talked about the Murdaughs to my remembrance, to my memory. And the big reason about that is this is like a big law family from South Carolina. They've been in like, I guess, the southern part of South Carolina for like 100 years. They're a big known name. They are very major, very massive, lawyer family. They're a big deal. And they have been in and out of the news, I want to say, for the past year or so, at least on like almost a national scale, for the stuff that this family has gotten into. From Alex Murdaugh on down, I want to say, what is it? Buster is another family member. There's also Paul, and then there's Maggie. Now, I want to preface all of this with the air of this is all alleged. Like, I don't want to get too bogged down on this article because there's just so much, and I will definitely tell you guys at the top of this that if you are really interested to get all the juicy tea on what this family has done, all the craziness, I would highly suggest Sinisterhood. That's like the best, one of the best ones I've seen. There's also some side stories episodes on Last Podcast on the Left, and let's see, Rotten Mango. That's another good one where they cover the Alex Murdaugh situation. Just all of it, all the guts. And this article is pretty good too. It just gives like a really kind of brief thing. But there's so much more than even what this article is talking about. And this is more or less just focusing on the shooting deaths of his wife and son, which were Maggie and Paul. They were killed in 2021. One was killed by an assault rifle. I believe that was Paul. And then Maggie, or was a shotgun, was Paul. And then Maggie was, I believe, killed with a shotgun. I might have those confused. But essentially, this has been an unsolved murder for like 13 months. And, we're just now getting to the point of, the trial and, what are we going to, how's this going to go? So this is kind of, I want to say, like the first time that like Alex Murdaugh or any Murdaugh, I'm pronouncing that name wrong, is really kind of facing some stuff. I mean, there are a lot of stories. I want to say Buster is one of the more memorable ones, where I believe at least one woman was killed in like a boating accident because he was drunk and like literally bar hopping on a boat that he owned or something like that. Like, it was crazy. So, I mean, that's a crazy story. There's also a lot of just like fraud claims that are on Alex Murdaugh or Alec Murdaugh. It's Alex. Yeah, I don't know why they have him Alec here and then Alex there. That's a little typo from the state. Whoopsie, maybe. But just essentially stealing from his own clients, which is just the most fucked up thing you can do. Like, and especially it sucks too because it's like you have a reputation and you're using your reputation to take advantage of the less fortunate, the people who are really down in, the worst situations. So definitely not a good family, not a great family. They've also been known to come after people who have like, spoken up and said things. Like it's literally known like this is Murdaugh country, like the area that they live and everything. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff. It's really like just a true crime, just pinata of shit, just out of one family. the main article here, just talking about the deaths of Maggie and Paul, just our headline material alone, but then also just some of the stuff I mentioned, and then there's a ton of other stuff I haven't mentioned. But he did call in the murder, so it is one of those things where it's like there is a potential chance that he was involved. Like, I really on this one don't know. I think maybe I'm biased and I want to say like, well, I mean, it just seems like he was tying up some loose ends or something like that. But I mean, that's me being very speculative. So we'll definitely see how this trial is going to go. Like I said, I've kind of been hesitant to even talk about it just because, one, like I know that these are the types of people who do, come for like podcasters even, or just anyone who's speaking out. So, it's kind of scary. But I mean, I'm pretty obscure and no one's really looking for me, so I ain't really that worried. But just really interesting case. So I wanted to talk about that, wanted to cover that, put it on the board. Maybe something we'll get to a little bit later. Like I said, I mean, this is a type of thing that you could do multiple part podcasts on. So talking about this family is really hard, not to mention with the limited scattered knowledge I have and remember. But like I said, just want to put on the radar. And then let's see. I got this from Al Jazeera. UN decries rising death toll, rights violations in Haiti. The UN says at least 234 people were killed or injured in gang-related violence from July 8th to the 12th in Port-au-Prince. So this article from Al Jazeera was the best one I could kind of find to kind of encapsulate what's going on, at least as of lately. But there has been a very huge uptick in gang activity, gang violence in Haiti that's really affecting the people who live there. Obviously with just the deaths, but also the gangs have really increased and tightened their control, especially I guess since last year with the upheaval of the assassination of Jovenel Moise. I believe I'm getting that name right there. But we've covered that. Then there's also the earthquake that happened. But in these kind of vacuums, gangs can kind of come up and really want to exert control and take control of areas. I mean, that's something that's not, a crazy wild thing, sadly, especially when you just do not have the resources to really enforce the law. And, they become that law. So it's also been hard to get an aid with everything going on. The gangs have made that worse. They're getting to the point now where they are like making it so it's like, no, they're turning away aid because it gives them more control over the city if people can't get water, can't get food. So it's just a really scary situation. Definitely adding to just more of the plight that is going on in Haiti. So, this is one of those things where, I've been hearing more and more about it. And then just hearing that number is just insane. It's wild because that's just gang activity. That's specifically focused. We're not talking about, the earthquake stuff. We're not talking about any of the other issues that are crippling and hindering Haiti that are, making it harder for the people there. So, I mean, oh my gosh, yeah, there's a quote here. Let's see, from the UN spokesman. We have so far documented from January to the end of June, 934 killings, 684 injuries, and 680 kidnappings across the capital. We've also covered some of those kidnappings, with the Amish family, stuff like that. So, I mean, this is a big business, like, for these gangs, and big business for just, I don't want to say ne'er-do-wells, because I feel like you're taking it too far to try to, like, put and paint a picture like that of Haiti, because, like, it is one of those things where this is a systematic problem. This isn't just a series of unfortunate events in a bad place. Like, Haiti has been a country that has had to fight for its existence since its birth. And ever since its birth has been oppressed. And before, you know what I mean? So, to the point of that even the places that are helping out are often calling it, like, just, a failed state. Which is not how I feel like you should be viewing any kind of, country. Every country is a country that's trying to fight for itself and fight for its survival and its people. So, I don't know. I'm kind of getting on a tangent here, but just definitely something I wanted to bring up I want to try to cover a lot of things. I definitely don't want it to just be like, oh, well, here's the big news in Ukraine in terms of like, shit going on. So when I heard that this number was just going up and up and up with just it seemingly like, what's going to happen, I definitely wanted to talk about it. I don't know if there is a way to really clamp down on the guns. I mean, they're talking about they would like to put in more mandates to stop the movement of it, like the guns and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how that is going to be enforced so well, but definitely we'll keep you covered with what I find out. Moving on into more international news. Mexico captures infamous drug lord Rafael Caro Quintero. So, Rafael Caro Quintero, a man I did not know about until this week. He apparently was behind the killing of a DEA agent in 1985 who went by the name of Enrique Kiki Camarena. And essentially, he was a known drug dealer. He dealt in like heroin, marijuana, I believe cocaine. He was just a big known name, big known quantity in Mexico. And, he was wanted, I believe, in retaliation for like a drug bust on his, one of his like plantations, like his weed plantations. He kidnapped Camarena, I'm sorry, I'm getting his name wrong, and killed him, or Camarena, and killed him. So it was definitely one of those situations where it's like, okay, America was already upset and mad about this drug stuff, and then you're going to kill one of our own, so naturally we're going to go even harder. That's just ordinary business. But with Mexico, it's not an easy situation. Kind of like what we were talking about in Haiti. When the gangs get so big and there's not enough government to really clamp down and enforce, on said gangs, well, then they run it, So the Sinaloa cartel was in control. They had the juice. They had the flow. And, I mean, it's not like too much has changed there. But I guess Mexico has kind of made some, means to make it happen. And also I'm kind of confused too when I was reading the article, because they go through how they captured him at least a little bit from, what I got from the AP, Yahoo News. But they had said that there was like a helicopter accident in which people died. I want to say there was like 15 people, but I think that was like before they actually captured him. So, no, okay, so it was carrying 15 people crashed near the coastal city of Los Mochis during the operation, killing 14 of those on board. So it was an accident they haven't really gotten into the details of, but they were still able to capture Quintero. So, because they have like the footage and capture of that, and he is, America is also planning on extraditing him. So that was a wrinkle that I'd heard, and it kind of threw me for a loop, but I didn't really get too much more clarity on it. But I do imagine that this is something that's, once again, it's a feather in the cap of U.S.-Mexico relations. They get to say, hey, we got a guy. Granted, we've gotten Chapo, we've gotten this guy, but it's not like we're actually stopping violence. We're not actually stopping drugs. But this is just a big name that came up. I want to cover that. Let's see, in some other news we got from Yahoo News. ISIS leader in Syria killed in U.S. drone strike, Pentagon says. And this was Mahir al-Gal, and he was one of the top 5 leaders of ISIS. He was killed in an airstrike in northwest Syria. Now, there's probably a lot more details to this, but usually I feel like when the story goes well, quote unquote, for the U.S., these drone strikes are very quick, silent, and not quote unquote messy, which is what they wanted. I think they said they had gotten him, and I think maybe someone else who was like an associate of him. Maybe I might be fudging the last part, but they got him. He was like riding his motorcycle, and they just hit him. They hit him up with a drone strike. I mean, people are really not exaggerating when they say drones completely redefined how we do military operations. Completely streamlined things. And it's one of those things where it was, to me personally, this is something that was slept on me until after the fact, but a lot during like the Obama administration. It's something that is really talked about, like the drone strike stuff that happened, I believe, in Yemen. So it's one of those things where it only is going to get, quote unquote, better over time, but naturally it's always combined with the intelligence that you get. So luckily, quote unquote, good that they got good intelligence, good that they used discretion, and, you know, they've been obviously waiting on this target for a very, very, very long time, and they finally got to pull the trigger, and, you know, the damage was minimum contained. So, you know, I guess you want to say, hoorah, yay, America got one, but, you know, it's not like this is going to be something that stops ISIS or really changes the conversations or narratives. It's just a mark on the board, a statistic, if you will. Let's see. Take my little break a little earlier here. Woo. Ooh-wee. Okay, I'm back. Ooh, am I back? Are we really back? Do we really ever go? I don't know. Got us from CNN World. Scenes of devastation after plane carrying military munitions crashes in Greece, killing 8 people. So this is a story, it's a bit of a handful for me. I guess there was a cargo plane that was carrying ammunition, and yeah, it says including illuminating mortar shells and training shells, and this was going to Bangladesh, I believe. Yeah, okay, it was traveling from Serbia to Bangladesh via Jordan, and that's when it crashed, and it crashed in Greece, and it killed 8 people. Those 8 people were Ukrainian citizens. And so for me, I'm kind of confused. This is some sort of weapons transport that was used, that was going to be used for like Ukrainian aid. I'm not sure. It doesn't really say too much in the article, but it does just talk about the plane. I believe it was the Antonov 12. So, I mean, this is just one of those things that had popped up, and I just wanted to have some coverage on it. But I am going to be honest, I'm just not quite sure the details on like why exactly this Serbian plane that was carrying, I guess, these kind of things to not Ukraine. But I also know that there's also, since I'm assuming, you know, Ukraine is involved with the Ukrainians being there, that there's just the red tape that they have to kind of jump through. It's like it's got to go from these people to those people, and then maybe move to another thing, and then you guys, it's all you. You own it. You have it. You use it to fight the war in Russia. Once again, that's me speculating. Not 100% sure, but, you know, crazy big incident. I mean, they said that it even made like a mushroom plume when it exploded. It was like that, just big and massive of an explosion. So, crazy stuff. Condolences, obviously, to the families, the people involved. I believe they said an engine blew on the plane, which is always just a scary thing. It's something you always kind of think about, when you're leaving, you're taking off. I mean, whether your plane is filled with weapons ammunition or it's just a couple of other bodies who are going from, LA to Washington, you never want that part to happen. So that's really scary. That's very sad. But I wanted to end on some good news, and luckily the universe did not disappoint. Got this from Yahoo News / CBS News. Hidden Van Gogh self-portrait discovered by X-ray. So the National Galleries of Scotland, also known as NGS, had discovered it's a secret to us, but I don't think it was intended to be a secret, but a hidden painting of one of Vincent van Gogh's work, and it was like a self-portrait of Van Gogh himself. And the painting is Head of a Peasant Woman, which is the picture I posted with this podcast episode. So you can see that. And it also shows the x-ray of Van Gogh. And it's believed to be like an early self-portrait because it's him with both of his ears. He cut off one of his ears to keep his fellow artist Paul Gauguin, I'm not pronouncing that correctly probably, but I guess he did it in an effort to get him to stay. So, it bees like that. Sometimes your artists live in friend, partner. I don't know what their stuff is. I don't know the whole lore details on Van Gogh. But he cut off his ear. It meant a lot to him. But this is pre-ear cut, so this is like old. Apparently, that, and when I hear it like said, it just makes sense. But when you're an artist, especially if you're like, poor or whatever, you just don't have as many materials. So the canvas you're using, you use once, and then let's say later on, time goes on, you now need another canvas, you don't have it, you just flip instead of doing something else, and you just say, okay, like, I'm not going to erase it or get rid of it, I'm just going to literally paint on the other side. So on the other side of this painting is a whole other painting. And, that's nothing if you're just Doodle Bop Robert. That's just how you do it. You use both sides of the page, move on, whatever. But when you're Van Gogh, people are going to go back and go, oh my gosh, like this is a whole extra painting. And so they are now, currently they discovered this in the setting up, I believe, of a installation. But after this installation is done, they are going to go through the process of trying to extract the other painting. So that's really kind of cool that they're doing this whole kind of, there's this old piece of art that we have, and then we also are having this modern technology, and we are making it happen so that we can actually extract it and get it. And I think that's very crazy. I would have found it crazy that we were able to see from that x-ray such a good detailed representation of it. I think that's great. So that's overall the episode, guys. We're at the end. We made it. Thanks for sticking along. If you'd like to help contribute to the effort that is Isaiah's Newsstand, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Any dollar is greatly appreciated. Every $5 will get you a shout out for the month, and it'll also get you Discord access. Pretty cool. If you would like to do the freeway for feedback, any kind of critiques, good jobs out of boys, you can send it to the isaiahnews1@gmail.com email address, and I will try to get to that when I do. Thank you for coming through. I love you lots, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. Love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.